The backyard lights glowed warm and golden that evening. The kind of glow that made other families look happy. Music drifted from the rented speakers, laughter rising and falling like wind through trees. My sister Ava spun beneath the lights in her soft pink dress, the chiffon catching every shimmer like it was made for her. Maybe it was. In their eyes, she was the only one worth celebrating. I stood at the edge of the crowd, clutching a stack of paper plates Mom had tossed at me earlier. "You can at least make yourself useful, can't you?" she'd snapped when I tried to sit down. So I passed out cake, refilled glasses, smiled at neighbors who didn't bother remembering my name. They toasted Ava as if she'd just rewritten the definition of success. 25 and engaged to a doctor. Mom gushed, her voice syrupy with pride. "She's everything we ever dreamed of." When someone asked where I was working now, Mom didn't miss a beat. "Oh, she's doing whatever people without degrees do," she said, her grin sweet and poisonous. "I had a degree. Graduated 2 years before Ava. No party. No toast. Just debt and silence." My eyes drifted to the fence, where my son Liam sat cross-legged in the grass, poking at a deflated balloon. He was 7, wearing the same shoes he'd outgrown months ago, the ones I'd patched myself. He glanced at Ava's towering cake and whispered, "It looks good, Mom." When I brought him a small corner piece, Mom's voice sliced through the air. "Hey, don't give him that," she barked. "He's not a guest." The music stuttered, laughter stopped. Every face turned toward us. "Mom," I said softly, "he's your grandson." Her wine glass tilted lazily as she smirked. "He's your consequence. Don't mix him with family." Ava laughed, clutching her fiancé's arm. "You heard her, sis. Family only tonight." Something inside my chest tightened. I set the plate down and said, "Fine. We'll go." But Dad's voice stopped me cold. "You'll go when we say you can. You haven't helped clean up yet." "I'm not a maid, Dad," I said, trembling but firm. Mom's smile vanished. Her eyes darkened. A look I'd known since childhood. "What did you just say?" "I said I'm not your servant. You invited me here." She laughed, that hollow, cruel laugh that always meant danger. "You think you're invited because we want you here?" Then she gestured toward the fence. "Go stand there. You're making the guests uncomfortable." I thought she was joking, until she grabbed my wrist. "Mom, stop," I gasped, but her fingers dug in hard, dragging me toward the fence. The wood bit into my back. "Hold her," she ordered. "Mom." Before I could move, Dad tied my wrists with one of the decorative ribbons, satin and gold, now tight around my skin. "There," Mom said, stepping back to admire me like some twisted centerpiece. "Now you look like part of the decor." Laughter rippled through the crowd. Someone whispered, "Is this a joke?" Ava giggled, picked up a piece of bread and tossed it at me. "Here you go, little animal." It hit my shoulder and dropped to the grass. Liam began to cry. "Stop. Don't hurt Mommy." Mom turned toward him, unbothered. If she didn't act like trash, we wouldn't treat her like it. Something inside me went utterly still. Not rage. Not shame. Just a quiet, sharp clarity. I looked straight into her eyes and whispered, "I'll remember this." She leaned in close, her breath reeking of wine. "Good," she murmured. "Maybe next time you'll learn where you belong." When the guests were gone, Dad untied me without a word. I took Liam's hand, walked out the gate, and didn't look back. That night sleep never came. I watched my son's small chest rise and fall beside me, my wrist still red from the ribbon. In the darkness, I made myself a promise. Not for revenge, something colder, cleaner. A kind of justice they'd never see coming. Because if my family worshipped anything, it was image, reputation, money, perfection. They'd humiliated me in front of strangers to protect it. So maybe it was time I used that obsession against them. I opened my old laptop. Slowly, methodically, I began digging. Searching for every secret they'd buried under their golden lives. Dad's investment club that stole from neighbors. Mom's charity fund that was nothing but a personal account. Ava's fiancé and his forged credentials. Every file, every receipt, every photo. By sunrise, I had it all. For the first time in years, I smiled. The following weeks moved like a quiet storm. Mornings at the diner, evenings spent washing dishes until my wrists ached. The faint marks from that ribbon still visible beneath the soap. Mom's voice echoed in my head, cruel and smug. Animals like you don't belong in this family. But I wasn't crying anymore. The humiliation had hardened into focus. Late one night, after tucking Liam into bed, I sent out a handful of envelopes. No fingerprints, no names. Inside proof. Transactions. Screenshots. Receipts. Copies of everything my parents never thought anyone would find. I mailed them to the people they deceived, the neighbors who trusted them most. 2 days later, Mom's number flashed on my phone. I ignored it. Then again. And again. By the fourth call, curiosity won. Did you tell them? She demanded, her voice shaking. The Parkers? The Monroes? They came to the house. Your father's furious. I kept my voice calm. Why would I tell them anything? You said I don't belong in the family, remember? You have no idea what you've done, she hissed. Actually, I said, I think I do. Then I hung up. That night, I walked with Liam along the empty road, the air sharp and clean. Mom, he said quietly, why did Grandma call you an animal? I froze. Because she doesn't know what love is. He nodded, his small hand warm in mine. I love you. I smiled. That's enough. The next morning my phone buzzed again. This time not from her, but from the neighborhood Facebook group. My father's name filled every post. Investment fraud. Stolen money. Fake receipts. People who once praised my family now demanded refunds and apologies. The comments section burned with fury. And I just sat there watching it all unfold, calm, steady, free. Because the night they tied me up to keep their perfect world intact, they didn't realize they were tying their own noose. My parents were failing spectacularly. By evening, Ava had posted a lengthy defense online. This is all false. We're the victims too. Her words only made things worse. I thought maybe it would be enough to calm the storm, but it wasn't. 2 days later, Mom showed up at my workplace. She stormed through the diner doors in her designer coat, eyes red and voice sharp. You think this is a joke? You've ruined us. The bank froze everything. Neighbors won't speak to us. You, Carla, stepped in. Ma'am, you can't yell in here, Carla warned. But Mom pushed past her, jabbing a finger at me. You think you're better now? Scrubbing tables for pennies. The entire diner had fallen silent. I met her gaze, each word like a blade. Go home, Mom, I finally said. She laughed, bitter and hollow. Home? Clear's throat. You mean the one your father might lose because of you? You'll regret this. You always do. She stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Carla came over and gently touched my shoulder. You don't owe anyone an explanation. But I had to. I needed someone, anyone, to understand. This wasn't about money. It was about dignity, about reclaiming every ounce of it they had destroyed. A week later, I drove past their house at dusk. The windows were dark. Mail overflowed in the box, unopened. On the driveway, a foreclosure notice was nailed to the post. I should have felt satisfaction, but instead there was only a strange stillness. I wasn't finished. Not until I faced them. Not until they recognized it was me. The girl they mocked, who tore down the walls of their perfect little world. So I waited for the right moment. Ava's rescheduled birthday party. The one my parents insisted they'd host, trying to prove the rumors wrong. Perfect. The night of Ava's new celebration came sooner than I expected, though I'd been preparing for it all along. Mom had framed it as a fresh start in her desperate Facebook post. A little family gathering to show that the Thompsons rise above gossip. The audacity made me laugh. They had lost nearly everything, their savings, their credibility, their spotless reputation, but still believed a glittery cake and a few staged photos could erase the past. That night I stood across the street, holding Liam's small hand. The house looked different. The once white fence was now chipped and unpainted. The porch light flickered weakly. Even the banner sagged. Happy 26th, Ava. As if the universe itself had grown tired of pretending. I told myself I wouldn't go in, that I'd moved on. But the truth was, part of me needed to see it. Not for revenge anymore, but for closure. For proof that I wasn't the broken girl tied to a fence anymore. Mom, Liam whispered, tugging my sleeve. Are we going to the party? I knelt beside him. Not the way they think. Inside I could hear laughter. Thin, forced laughter. I waited until a group of guests entered. Then quietly followed. No one stopped me. No one even glanced twice. To them I was just another guest. The backyard was lit with cheap string lights, the air faintly smelling of burnt barbecue. Ava stood near the cake, her dress 2 sizes too small, her smile hollow. Mom fluttered around her like a dying moth, makeup caked to mask exhaustion. Dad lingered near the cooler, red-faced and tense, avoiding the neighbor's eyes. It was pitiful. I slipped my phone from my pocket and hit record. Not for the internet, not to expose anyone, but for me. I wanted to remember their faces when it all came full circle. I waited until Mom saw me. Her color drained. "You," she started. Before she could finish, Ava turned. Her jaw dropped. "You have some nerve showing up here." The guests froze. Someone whispered my name. I smiled, calm, composed. "I'm not here to fight. I just came to drop something off." I placed a manila envelope on the table beside the cake. "What's that?" Dad demanded. "Copies," I said simply, "of the loan agreements you signed using your clients' names. Thought you'd want to see them before the bank does." Gasps rippled through the yard. Mom lunged forward, hissing, "You think you can ruin us again? After everything?" I tilted my head. "I'm not ruining you, Mom. You did that yourself, tying your daughter to a fence and laughing." The silence that followed was suffocating. Ava's fiancé, the same man who once threw money around like confetti, stepped back, frowning. "Is that true?" he asked quietly. Mom's lips trembled. "She's lying," she said. "She's not," Dad interrupted, his voice cracking. "You did that. You went too far. And now look at us." For the first time my father seemed small. Not angry, not intimidating, just broken. Mom slapped his arm. "Don't you dare blame me. I started all this." Ava burst into tears, mascara streaking her cheeks. "You promised none of this would get out," she screamed. I turned to leave. I'd seen enough. But Mom shouted after me, "You'll regret this. Who will ever love you after what you did?" I turned slowly. Calm, quiet. "Love me," I said. "Mom, I stopped wanting your love the day you tied my hands." I took Liam's hand. He looked up at me, smiling. No fear, no confusion, only quiet understanding. "Let's go home," I whispered. Behind us, chaos erupted. Voices rose, arguments flared. The fence I'd once been tied to stood in the corner of the yard, rotting, half broken. I paused for one last look, not out of pain but pride. That fence was no longer a symbol of my shame. It was theirs. As we walked away, I heard the faint sound of Mom's crying. For the first time, it didn't hurt. It meant nothing. Just noise. Liam squeezed my hand. "Mom," he said softly, "can we get cake on the way home?" I laughed. "Yeah, baby. A big one. Ours." We walked down the dark street, streetlights flickering above. I didn't look back. The house behind me, the one that used to define my worth, was just a shadow. For the first time, I wasn't outside the fence. I was free.